Hello, in this episode, I once again am joined by a paranormal investigator, and this time it is Abby from the team. Hello, Abs.
Hello.
So, the ancient Ram Inn, and I guess we'll talk about the location to begin with.
Yeah.
Were you aware of this place
I
beforehand?
was not, but you and Lucy predicted the ancient
Yeah.
ramen. I was pretty impressed.
Well, it's not really. There was only one culprit, we thought. Did it remind you of the place we went to in York at all?
Yeah, a little bit.
Old, brown, full of tat,
Oh,
you know,
yeah, just sort of rundown pub
mm.
vibes, you know.
And how wonky it looks as well from the outside,
Yeah,
all the walls.
definitely the recipe for something creepy.
I think it is built on a pagan burial ground,
Yeah.
and they've had a lot of backlash on Reddit and things like that from pagans saying, stop dressing up pagan as if it's Satan.
But
Paganism's already in nature, isn't it?
yeah, it's when you bring it's not, I don't think it's the paganism part of it, it's the burial ground.
Yeah.
It's the resonance with death that definitely makes it feel like a much more haunted location.
It does look off to start with. It has all the hallmarks of a haunted building. It
Mm.
has it is built on a burial ground. I mean,
Yeah,
that, like you say, that is enough to say, well, I imagine it is haunted,
yeah.
especially when they dig and find children's bodies underneath the ground
Yeah. It's
with daggers.
fairly concrete, that, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, we'd be like, sure, it probably is haunted, yeah. I looked into paganism and sacrifices, and if you go far, far enough back,
Mm.
there was child sacrifices. That does check out. But what I did find, ley lines. Do you have any view on ley lines before I look at Wikipedia?
Not particularly.
No.
No real views. Don't. I understand sort of like where people are coming from with the idea of what ley lines, but me, it doesn't really mean much.
Yeah. Now let's jump to the wiki page. So on the wiki page, it says that ley lines are straight lines basically drawn between various historic structures, landmarks, all the prominent things across the land. Since the 60s, the Earth Mysteries movement have commonly believed that such ley lines demarcate Earth energies and serve as guides for alien spacecraft. Scientists and archaeologists regard this as pseudoscience, but it's this second paragraph that got me. So it seemed to originate in the 1920s from a book by Alfred Watkins, and he basically said if you draw straight lines between various structures and places, it's like the most obvious trade routes because you go in a straight line to get from place to place. But however, it was argued that doesn't take into account the fact that straight lines mean you go over, like you live around where we do, and it's like the hills mountainous. You just won't go in a straight line, you go round that massive hill.
Yeah.
Even as they originated, it fell down to like, well, no, that's not the most obvious path to a place. I don't see any foundation in it. Yeah, the whole earth energies from Stonehenge converging on a place, I see no evidence to go into that. It's cool, I love it, but
Great idea, but I mean, you can grab a map and draw a straight line out and say these two are connected.
yeah. And now, there is the whole, as I say, I talked about water there, but the water energy highway, which was something I'd heard about when I started doing this. And sure enough, whenever we got called out to hauntings, one of the first things we did was like nudge each other and say, oh, look, it's really near that river, or there's a stream at the back of it, or, and we used to sort of say, oh yeah, because the movement of water could be a constant energy creator, and they need energy and it turns out that the flow of water can't create energy, but what energy can do is carry energy. What water can do is carry energy, such as electric and stuff. It's absorbent of it, conductive. So again, that's, I'm not knocking that out of the park, and there is a well underneath it.
It's interesting, isn't it, the whole concept of water carrying energy?
Yeah.
I suppose there are a lot of vessels that do carry energy, certain metals and things like that. So
yeah, I mean, that is interesting. I mean, a place with a well in it, you always think somebody must have fallen down that well, and where does it go? And it's that creepy vibe, isn't it? Like to the unknown, almost straight to hell. So, yeah, the location itself is very tickable for, yeah, we're in. That's going to be a good one.
And
And
it's
I
sort
think,
of in a small village location, a bit off the beaten path.
yeah,
Yes, it's got the right energy, I think.
it's ideal, isn't it? Now, the issue comes because I've got a picture of it I'll put on screen now. It shut in 1968 as a normal pub, an inn. And this John Humphreys bought it. And then there was never any history, never any report of anything remotely paranormal for all the years that it had a pagan burial site underneath it until John Humphreys decided that it was haunted. And he didn't just decide it was had a ghost. He decided it had a rife connection with spirits, and it's the worst place in England to live. There's an incubus, there's a succubus, and basically, I remember the first time I saw of him, it was on some news thing, some TV programme, where he was like, I am basically raped nearly every night by these sex demons. And he lived there for 50 years, which I did find a little bit, hang on, it's the worst place to live, but you love it there.
Yeah, 50 years is a long time.
Yeah, to be abused and not just because you think, you know what, I'm going to move.
I mean, unless you're generally comfortable with the fact that your house is haunted.
Yeah, I
50
mean,
years is still a long time.
he was because he chose to turn it into a paranormal hotspot and decide that I'm going to make far more money letting paranormal investigators come here. And he was absolutely right. So he did the place out with all sorts of creepy, items, I mean to say.
Yeah.
And the family fell out over it. Like, Dad, what are you doing? This, you're going to do that. But he was right. He was a shrewd businessman. I think, yeah, you're absolutely right, John. You did a good decision there. Because you only live there by yourself, saying that you get dragged out of bed by unseen things, wonderful. And that's...
Say you didn't.
Yeah, who's to say you didn't? It did become a B&B and people did stay there, and there are claims online of people saying, yeah, I was sat in bed and I saw a cavalier walk straight into the wall, and other people give other accounts of full-on spiritual people walking around the room and through walls. So 2 floating monks, which I think they mentioned, or I might have seen that on another video. I think it is this one. Because I've watched several investigations to think what is the main thing that they get in this place. And because there's that much crap hanging from the roof, every investigator gets touched on the head in the dark and freaks out because that's what they're there for. Yeah. We have that mummified cat in the corner, and that's what I mean. It's got things buried in the walls like cats. Now, that is quite an English thing to do. Have you ever buried anything in a wall?
Not personally, no.
I've done it in every house that
really?
I have owned.
Just in case anybody knocks it down. And...
Yeah, because it's funny, isn't it? That was what my auntie taught me. She's like, won't it be cool if we put every coin in a wall with a note? And I've done that since I was a child in their houses, and so I carried it on. I've buried things all over England, like little boxes when I've been away with a girlfriend. I've put a little time capsule, and thought one day this could be discovered and it'll be quite interesting. So, I got that passed on to me, and I think, okay, yeah, there's witchcraft, and a lot of these things are to protect the house rather than to draw things in, aren't they? So that's just the UK for you, yeah. I just think this is one of the most pre-loaded places to walk in and try and do a completely open-minded investigation.
I do think when they have a house or a building or anything and they put things in it that are creepy, that just sets the tone, doesn't it?
Mm.
If they fit, like a lot of the times, dolls and things like that, they just love them because they're creepy, don't they?
Yeah.
And use them sort of as an excuse to be a vessel for something, but it's definitely set up to look like it would be haunted. Yeah. But if you look at it from the outside, the building itself is pretty creepy. So it doesn't really need all that extra stuff. No. And it does put people down that mind path that, yes, this is going to be haunted because look at all this creepy stuff that's in here. Well, it's been put there, so...
Yes. I've got 2 other instances here from my own experience. One is York, where we went to the B&B, and we do believe it's haunted, but there was also a magnetic Ouija board. Only small, but it had been put there for anyone who didn't really know what they were doing. If they touched that Ouija board, the planchette would ping to the middle of the board and freak everybody out. And I thought that was cheeky. I thought that's just, you shouldn't be doing that. You're muddying the waters. And they'd left some ghost hunting, say ghost hunting, but, K2's electrical hunting equipment. And then the other one is Pontefract's 30 East Drive, which they may yet go to, so I may find myself repeating myself. But
really interesting if they did go there.
Yeah, when we went there, and I'll skip to the bit I'm talking about. When we went there, it was a normal house. I mean, the single bed, knackered, with a leg hanging off it. And then subsequently, I've watched investigations, and you're like, hang on, when did they put that there? Why have they put that creepy thing there? Why is there all them creepy photos? It was just a normal house, and now it's a museum to itself, And that's what I worry about with this location, the fact that it's false.
Yeah.
But the counter-argument that I have with myself is, if you got ghost hunters going in, giving their energy, asking out to spirits, like we do, then moths to a flame, they're gonna come. Do you think that it's possible to make an open doorway, if you like, and stay in the building so that spirits are drawn?
Absolutely. I think the energy that you give off when you go in to sort of do these investigations is an energy that specifically invites them in. Now we talk about giving off light that encourages spirits to sort of come to us. I think anyone with open intentions to invite them, it sort of gives them the energy to do so, and that brings them. Otherwise, in your day-to-day normal life, you're not thinking about it, you're not open to it, therefore you're not attracting it.
Yes, I agree. It's a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Mm.
So John might have started off just saying it was haunted, but I think he probably achieved it along the way.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say. But watching the videos I've watched, the only evidence I was really taken on across every one was the knocking, the banging, the footsteps. Yeah. Really good footsteps. So maybe there is a spirit there. Maybe it's always there. Maybe it's the resident, what comes and goes. Or maybe it's just all sorts of manner of spirits, because we can go to the same location and not get the same spirit every time. So, it could be any spirit having the energy and then making themselves known.
24 minutes in. Yeah, I can't believe the build-up to the investigation, or the best bit of evidence, was 24 minutes long. They did talk about the building for a long time.
And that's what I saw somebody reviewing the Oxford one say, 18 minutes in and we're finally cracking up.
Yeah, I was surprised 24 minutes in. It's quite a long time. So I didn't really feel like that when you're watching it, though.
No. Now, on their own Reddit pages, the war someone's created it, it's all like, I can't watch these anymore, they're so annoying, and it's really turned against them. And I was speaking to Becky of this team about it, and we were both like, I can see if you don't like them and you find them annoying, they are annoying, but because I like them, you put up with it like an annoying little brother or something. It's like, oh, bless them.
Yeah.
Dude, what was that?
That was behind Tanner. That sounded like the grate.
Yo.
Like the metal grate being lifted.
I was nowhere near this. I didn't touch it. Like, it almost sounded like...
Yeah.
That was it.
Exactly. That was it.
So gross.
That was exactly what I heard.
A lot of claims in here, though. Dude, what was that?
So, it seems to be the grate moving, and what do you think of that?
First of all, I really like that Dakota pointed out that there are a lot of things to move, and therefore sort of hyper aware of sounds and sort of debunking things, weren't they? But that was a loud noise.
It was loud, and being a metal...
And they were nowhere near it.
They weren't near it, no. They didn't stand on it. Metal grate, he had to put his foot on it to then make it move. That hole doesn't go into a cellar, doesn't have a through hole, from what we can tell. It's merely dug down into the dirt. So that's good.
I thought that was great.
Then they put the REM pod on it, apparently, and they stand and question. Go on.
Yeah, sorry, they monitored that, didn't they, through the whole evening. That was quite an interesting bit.
This is a pagan burial ground, 5,000 years old. There's probably so many souls underneath our feet. We've been told a lot about this place. We came all the way from a different country to experience this. Should we not be here?
All right, so what I wanted to say about that, actually, is they're mentioning the pagan burial ground and buried with daggers, which is a strange thing, because, I looked into it thinking, was it like the Egyptians that you get buried with certain things? And there were sometimes buried with their belongings, but not like daggers. And then the little unknown interference, and I have reviewed every piece of recording that we've ever recorded, and I know for a fact that when we have that, it's a mobile phone that's not been properly turned off.
Yeah.
So I recognise that noise because sometimes it's been me.
Yeah,
So,
they didn't bring attention to it, to be fair.
They did not. But
did
just
just
for the
put it
viewers,
with-
I wanted my experience to say, no, that they didn't say it was anything other than what it was. I think. And then the walking, and I ticked that.
Footsteps.
Yeah.
That was footsteps, and you're in an old building, and yes, if someone walks above, well, in any building really that's sort of timber framed or whatever, you can hear people walking above you, and they were loud footsteps, distinct
Yeah.
footsteps walking sort of in a line.
Yes, absolutely. And other teams got this, so I'm
Yeah.
like genuine. I thought that is of the location.
And it's not. It could be anything, couldn't it? It could be any spirit.
It doesn't have to be a demon, does it?
The same one every time, either.
No.
I
Maybe
think that's a
the
weird bit of evidence.
yeah, that is a good bit of evidence. Yes. And then we've got a thud coming up and some movement.
This room, it almost felt like something was trying to get us here. I did bring up the spirit box.
Whoa, what was that, dude? I felt something underneath my foot, like walking. The floorboards were moving.
Yeah.
Dude, that sounded like it was coming near the stairs.
There was like a bassy thud, and then it literally, you could feel it, right?
Yes, I could feel it underneath my foot, like the floorboards were moving.
I did bring up the spirit box.
Whoa.
What was that, dude?
I did bring up the spirit box.
Whoa.
Right, so we have that thud there in the building. That was a good one.
Yeah, it was a good one. And it's interesting that it sort of kind of coincided with what they were filming underneath them. Now we can see from their point of view that they weren't moving around, so it definitely feel like it was them making on the camera downstairs. So really good.
That was a really good touch, the fact that they're filming two different spots and, that camera audio is getting it from two angles almost. Then, at 29:50-ish, they sit at a Ouija board, wondering how they can get more information out of these spirits, and then they decide to not use the Ouija board. So why do you think they don't use that when it's fear? It's Project Fear.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if they've ever expressed what their views are on using Ouija boards, but they are openly more religious, aren't they?
Yes.
I feel like that must be why. I can't see any other reason why they wouldn't use one.
No, but they're hunting for ghosts.
Yeah.
So how religious are they? When we try and investigate churches, it's like, you can't do ghost investigations in a church. It's like you literally are all about spirit. So they're like, there's a line because the Bible says you shouldn't contact the dead, and yet these guys are religious and they swear. And it's a blurred line. And yet, I think if it's Project Fear, you do the things that are scary. And if only they would do a Ouija board. Look, it's a board with some letters on it. You've got that camp of, don't be ridiculous, it's nothing. And then the other camp of, apparently, it can be absolutely terrifying and you shouldn't mess with it. Every time I am like, do the Ouija board. Let's find out, see what you think, if it's nonsense or not.
Yeah.
But no, they crack out the spirit box, which most people are like, it's radio waves. But on the other hand...
Including you.
Including me. But on the other hand, as like Lucy says, they do get some interesting things on it. And let's go through what they got. I like to boil it down so I can look without a lot of other information. So it says, you still there? They, each of them, you're next. Possible laugh. They say their names. To Alex, what are you going to do? Haunt him. 2 more. And then we have more REM pod and movement, which we think is genuine, not anything fake or anything. Want. And then there's another thump. And Dakota's like, I want to know more. And that's what really bugged me. You sat at the goddamn Ouija board. But yes, so they seemed to say that it said Alex's name.
It did say Alex's name, and that's probably the only thing that stuck with me. Because we've had it before, haven't we, where you've got Chris through. Well,
Yeah.
Chris is only one syllable, so yeah, okay, fair
Yeah.
enough. But
And any is word you can say is Chris.
yeah, Alex kind of doesn't fit into that. It's two syllables, and it, to me, was quite clear.
Yeah.
But everything else was a bit wishy-washy. Not particularly convinced. The classic, haunts you.
Yeah, but it's funny how they're on a ghost investigation and the radio happens coincidentally, if I'm a total skeptic.
Yeah, that is true.
Do you know what I mean? To say haunts you, it's a bit on the nose, isn't it?
Yeah.
But are we listening for ghostly words in between the radio stations when we should be doing what they're doing and just, even if it's a song, even if it's a news report, should we be writing down what the news report is saying? And I don't know, as if the ghosts are speaking in a radio. You know, are we not taking what we're given?
Yeah. Maybe, obviously, I know what Lucy said before is we need to be doing it for longer. And it probably can get a little bit boring if you're sitting and doing it for longer. But instead of us sort of trying to, when something comes through and we think we've heard a word and saying it out loud, maybe we should try write it down. And similarly, anything that, we just all sit around asking questions, obviously, but if we all write what we hear and then compare at the end.
That is a very good idea,
Ab. Then I think we also could include, obviously, those bits of the radio that are definitely the radio and see what they pick up and say as well. It would definitely be interesting to see if we all sort of pick up the same things.
Are you a man or are you something demonic?
Are you evil? Am I in danger?
Are you gonna hurt Alex?
We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see later tonight.
Okay, just to be sure, 100% sure, can you say Alex's name again?
Whoa, what was that?
So what's your views on that? Are you going to hurt Alex? We'll see.
It was quite clear, we'll see. It definitely was. It's interesting. I don't think it means anything, but did they end up getting his name through again?
I don't think you're gonna do anything.
It's like a girl about to cry. Can you say his name one more time so we know you meant Alex?
I did.
Yeah.
Can you say Alex one last time?
Whoa!
Alex again.
So you asked, Abby, did it say it again? And I thought it didn't, but it did.
It did, yeah. Or at least I thought it did. I think that's pretty impressive for me. I'm fairly sort of intrigued by that they said his name twice.
It did say it in a radio type way rather than just some dude.
Yeah, but it's definitely interesting. Definitely sort of. Well, it stuck with me. I remembered.
Yeah. So my thing what I wrote here was, did they edit the music out? And there doesn't seem to be any blasts of music. It's like if we're flitting through all these radio stations, why is there no blasts of bebop or lula?
Yeah. We have had it, haven't we, on the Spirit Box?
Radio?
Yeah.
Yeah, you obvious music. Obvious music.
Radio 1 tunes on a Saturday night, don't you?
Yeah. We've heard it say BBC Radio. It's gone.
Yeah. Interesting. Do you know what? I never thought of that.
But I wonder if they edit it out. They literally get it and think, well, that's music. Well, that's music. I don't know.
They do definitely only focus on the parts where they get sort of the words, don't they? Because they do very.
Okay.
And you can see them skipping through it, can't you? So maybe they do cut those out sort of on purpose.
Yeah.
Fair enough if they do. They're not
running time. They've got to advertise the Fear Club 4 times, so
Yeah.
there's always that. So they use the PS device, and we get crucifix, name, solo, and no. Crucifix seems to ring a bell with them because of all the crucifix around. That's one of those generic words that these things are built with, you know. If it said demon, incubus, succubus, it's hard, isn't it? It's hard to know what's genuine.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think they got anything as interesting as they did in the first episode at Oxford Castle.
No, I agree with that. And
It wasn't
then
particularly related to their surroundings, was it?
no, it wasn't, was it? No, it wasn't like an inn or
No.
B&B or something. So they don't knock on the bishop's room door, which John Humphreys initiated, and I think that's another great, because he said that on to Most Haunted as well when they did it. Do you know this story?
No.
This is where Stuart Torrevell, they were all told outside, when you enter this building, you have to be respectful and you have to enter the building and welcome yourself by saying, hello, my name is, may I enter this property? Now, this John Humphreys made them go through all this rigmarole about you have to respect the building. And everybody did, went through, apart from Stuart, who whispered under his breath, fuck you, do your fucking worst, I think he said. And then on that episode of Most Haunted, he seemingly got attacked, scratched. He left Most Haunted for the first time that night. He took him years to have therapy at getting over, because his whole worldview was shaken. His hair fell out from that moment through fear, and it really changed him. And he's like, I know that I did, was it psychological? Interesting, but no, this team didn't seem to welcome themselves in through the night or whatever.
No.
But they didn't knock on the door,
No.
which is good. I liked that. But would you have had us knock on the door, do you think?
No.
No,
No.
I agree.
I don't think any of us would. We'd have just think, oh yeah, that's something that John Humphreys has made up, some sort of ritual to... Because knowing that people will ignore it, and then if anything does happen, that's what they're going to blame it on.
Yes.
It sort of adds to that haunted effect, doesn't it?
Yeah. Now, the words that I've signified here from the device is kill, hurt, killed, wicked, dig, and anger. And again, we get back to that words in the word bank on the one hand, and also does this place's notoriety create an energy via the teams discussing this demonic stuff. But that's quite a nasty bunch of words there, isn't it? And I really don't know how we're going to actually find a list of the words, the 5,000 words that are on these. It must be listed somewhere, but I just haven't found it yet. Because people take these things apart, being skeptic, and look into these and say, well, this is like this SB7 is literally a £17 radio charged at 70 quid, and a REM pod you can get for like a tenner, but when it's a ghost hunting device, it's 100 quid,
Yeah.
Then the next words were hurry, evil, and hematos. Now, I've put here, someone put that word in there. Do you know what I mean? That's not... It can't come through unless somebody has put that word in there. So that is a deliberate word.
Yeah.
That people have put in there.
I mean, have they just gone through the dictionary and added everything in the dictionary?
Well, it's limited to 5,000 words.
So they've
It's
obviously
not many, really.
taken out things like hearts and fluffy, because
Beauty.
why on earth would they be in there?
Yeah.
And chosen probably the darker side of the dictionary.
Correct, I agree.
In there. But I will give it to them. It was quite a string of words, not entirely connected, but fairly dark. Whereas they can get things that are very varied. So
Yeah, they do
not
get varied
saying
words.
it's full of rubbish, but I'm not saying it's particularly convincing either.
No. Now then, one of the camera dies. One camera dies. Now they're reckoned to be all charged and everything, but it's not just a battery drain. The camera is dead. But they've had that camera all through Destination Fear, because this is their own equipment. That camera's put in a good wealth of work for them.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't too concerned about a piece of equipment actually being broken. How do you feel?
And it happens to us, doesn't it? I mean, would they have put in there that the camera died if they were doing the fun shoots when they're in the car driving to the location? No, probably not.
And I would also hold my hand up if our camera died and I was doing a TV-ish programme. I think I would probably be like, oh, that's weird. But I'm probably in the back of my mind thinking, yeah, but on the other hand, these things happen.
Yeah, we have had it, haven't we, where the battery, you've charged the battery for the camera and the camera's just...
Absolutely, but batteries are a funny beast. And I've also found that in meters like the K2 and the Gauss, as it's dying, it can really on off a bit and give some weird readings as it's dying. So that's a false reading. But then you always know after that it's dead, and you're like, oh, it's just a battery dying. You sort of retro that. So we get demon, of course we do, coming through the box, and tonight and aggression. So I'm like, good. I look forward to the aggression in the sleepover section or whatever. Then we get tip and we get evil before moving on to the Estes method with the spirit box again. So all the words that come through, we've got to think, would that be on a radio station? Or, it's good for that it's not just a PS device but has the word demon in it, if we're going to get a word like that.
Yeah.
So let us go to Chelsea.
What was that?
Tanner has to do it.
Wait. Something hit my head. I swear.
What did you feel and what's happening?
I promise I felt this. Like someone just poked my head.
What the hell?
I actually thought I hit my head on something.
There's no way.
I don't have like a bug or a spider on my head.
No. I'm trying to think what it would be though, because it's not the doorway, because you're definitely not tall enough.
It was so freaking weird.
Maybe it was some sort of a spider.
Yuck.
I don't see any. Yo. What was that?
What was that?
There's a footstep.
So seemingly Chelsea gets a tap on the head and says something poked me. Now that's like a tap or a full poke. That's quite a solid thing. But then they're sort of saying, oh, it's like have I got a spider on my head? Well, how heavy is this spider that you think you're going to bump into? Wait a minute, are you saying that you lightly felt something that could have been a spider? Or are you saying that you got prodded in the head by a fall? You know what I mean?
And then when she touched Dakota's hair, she sort of just brushed it, didn't she?
Yeah.
Like,
So I'm thinking, you mean a cobweb then? You went under a cobweb?
yeah, maybe. Although she did sort of stand there and tried wiping the ceiling to see what it was. She was definitely conscious of her surroundings. But I mean, if you'd walked into a cobweb, it could have easily then just fallen onto the floor, couldn't it?
Yeah, but going back, as long as I can remember, the feeling of walking through cobwebs was often a feeling that a spirit was there. Always very difficult to say. You're in a little cobwebby cellar. It's hard to see a full-on cobweb anyway. But I've had both. I've had that cobweb feeling, and I've also been prodded enough to think something tapped me on the head, generally speaking. Have you ever had the taps physically yet?
Nothing. Although I encourage them to.
Yeah.
One day, hopefully.
You'll get it if you keep coming. Yeah.
Can you do that again?
There we go. That to me sounds like metal contracting. The thing, the great covering. Now you got to remember that. Yeah, there's probably plenty of things in that house that, with the changing of the night from hot, day to night, metal contracts, doesn't it? That's what the house pops are in everyone's houses.
It was significantly different to the sound of the metal grate and the footsteps that they got earlier. Significantly different. It was more a building noise than a person noise.
Yeah, I would say that is consistent with the noises that we get, having had nothing, and go, that was a good noise, but unfortunately it was probably just nothing. Okay, let's go through the Estes method.
I'm here. Hello? Soon enough. Something about shadows?
So there's just a few of the words that Alex got. I'm here, hello, soon enough, shadows will follow, crucifix, no lord, burn, and ritual, and then a growl, perhaps. Radio waves? Doesn't sound like the sort of thing that a radio would say to, no lord, burn, ritual. It's not when you're thinking like radio, did a different radio, did a different radio.
Even I'm here. Like, I don't
I'm here,
that come through on the radio. And at least for the first part, it was kind of answering their questions, even vaguely.
Yeah, but we can't hear what he's hearing, which again I bring up the point of, if only we could hear, and then also, because sometimes they say, it said this, and you hear it, and you're like, no, it didn't.
Yeah. I think
But, you know...
so
difficult.
interesting if they could sort of take that audio and
Yeah.
play that back to us at the same time.
Play that little bit, say what Alex says, play the next little noise, say what Alex said. That's probably the way forward, which doubt they will do, because no one watches this.
New YouTube channel, Project Fear, a deeper dive
Oh,
for the nerds
good.
like us.
More fear, yes. But there's a cool noise at the hull, by the sounds of it.
I don't know what it said, but it was just like a little kid whispering. What the hell?
There's a little...
Kids that were sacrificed.
Yes!
Oh my God.
We know kids.
Is someone walking closer to me?
Now, you've been under, with headphones on and such.
Yeah.
Can you equate to having that fear that someone's near you, or has that not happened?
No, that hasn't happened yet. I mean, when I did it, I was sort of in comfortable surroundings, so maybe that's why. But I think if I heard what he thinks is a little kid whisper in my ear, I'd be pretty freaked out too. And I suppose those heightened senses then might have made him feel like there was somebody in the room with him. Although, going back to the hole in the floor, that's happened consistently through the night. I think that's really good. And they've sort of been unbeknownst to it until they've re-looked at the footage, which I just think that's great.
Yeah. This is the problem, the worry that I have, that when we try some weird piece of equipment and then get something questionably good, it's like, well, if I hadn't have put that machine on, so what else are they missing? What else are we missing because we're not trying something? It's because without that, it's all almost through these devices, and I'm starting to lose patience with these devices. I want to be capturing more like that. I'll sit for 3 hours if I get a walking, if we can witness that sort of thing.
You guys, I'm freaked out.
Is that why you're here?
Dark, offended by...
REM pod.
What the fuck was that?
Downstairs, it's a REM pod.
Dude!
The legacy.
Okay, this was just going off. Definitely.
Oh! Dude, it's going off.
Chelsea, you were like just in the middle of like connecting the dots.
You saw me.
You saw me? Are you down here now?
Look down.
Hell no. It's not.
Chelsea,
What?
look down.
Yeah, I know.
That's where these kids were found. Dude,
Guys,
this is
what
really
is it
scary.
actually going on?
Help. Help.
The little kids.
Boys.
How can we help you? What can we do?
Sacrificial.
Sacrificial, dude.
For more power.
For more power. Maybe that has to do with your camera draining earlier?
Dude, I keep hearing like little kids whispering.
So this is taking a turn for the on the nose, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely a peak.
And like help, sacrificial for more power.
Yeah, I'm quite impressed with the evidence that they gathered just then.
Yeah.
I would have liked them to have spent a bit more time down by that hole, to be fair, because it's sort of where all the action was happening.
Yes.
That would seem to be like the source of power, essentially, the source of energy for the house. Really interesting, and that it all ended up tying in with what Alex was saying. I think that was a really, really good Estes method.
Yeah, and Becky of our team said the same. Said this is what really turned the episode around because of like, is this place haunted really, or is it just John? Yeah. And then this is decent evidence. I mean, it doesn't prove 100%, but we're all in favour of how many coincidences from one location to another.
It doesn't the evidence that they've gathered doesn't really align with what John said. It aligns with the history of the building.
Yes, yeah,
It's good.
Yeah. Now, just because it's ramped up here, and a lot of the other investigations from other teams have had children's voices recorded, it is well known that the locals, upon walking past this place, know that the likelihood of someone being in there doing an investigation is quite high. They will whisper and shout and say things on purpose, and so throw things at the window as you would. So I just want to put that in the video for anyone from America or whatever. Look, this place is known, and you basically taunt the investigators. But that isn't what's going on here. This is all internal. But it's something to bear in mind if you go on to watch further investigations. The locals think it was all made up because it was fine until John said. And now, but that's good, isn't it? That section was a good one. And then Tanner says, I think we're pushing our limits, which just took me back to York when we'd got things that we'd always wanted but never actually had. And I suddenly thought, do we really know what we're doing? So that's where this program sort of ends. In fact, it ends on a noise. Let's look at that noise.
I think we're pushing our limits right now. I think we're going a little bit too far.
I'm notified when that video drops. What was that, dude?
Something just moved behind me.
What a great cliffhanger.
Yeah, that is fantastic, isn't it? And then they're going to go on to split up in the very lightest of words because the place is so small. But
not really sort of a location after they've got that. I would want to split up too far in anywhere. In twos?
Twos, yeah. 2 downstairs, 2 upstairs would be the obvious thing to do, wouldn't it? We're excited about this next episode.
Really excited.
That's all we can say. So thank you, Abby, for your time.
Thank you.
And we'll see everybody later.